I am the Archfiend, the despoiler of worlds, and by my hands shall the false emperor fall.
Abaddon, the Despoiler, a legendary character and a legendary model. Normally, you'd want to use a process called subassembly to paint a model and an effect like this. Subassembly is simply the process of building the model in various parts to make painting easier. But what happens when you forget about this and you just glue the model together like this?
No.
Well, let's try to fix that today and see if we can't get a great glow effect without having to rip the model apart and break everything. Normally, tackling this project, I would want to start with my airbrush underneath the model, shooting upwards for the head. The light source mainly comes from below the neck on the neckline inside the armor. So what we would want to do is have the light shooting up at the bottom of the chin, bottom of the nose, and somewhat on the top of the head. So first, I have to break out the custom micron for this because my normal airbrush would probably make a mess of this. I'm going to gingerly shoot white ink from below to try to catch as much as I can. As you can see here, it's not really working the way I want, so instead I just kind of throw it in there in a bunch of different spots to try to set lighting. It's not the exact gradient that I'm looking for. It's a little spotty, but that's okay. Next, instead of going directly to a fluorescent, I just mainly cover the area in bloody red from Vallejo. This will be our first light kind of base for the model. We're gonna reapply white though here with the airbrush and try to set, again, we're gonna try to set the foundations for fluorescent light coming up from below the neckline. Next, we move on to our fluorescent red ink. I'm going to shoot this from below as best I can to hit the areas I need to hit. I'm also going to stick my airbrush pretty close into the model and really with the soft PSI try to shoot any of the source lighting I can really get with the airbrush. I'm not really looking to flood the area, but good enough to get what I need. Here we can see, I'll turn the lights down. You can kind of see there is a pretty good glow effect here, but we're going to take it further. Next, I'm going to set the base of my skin tone. So I'm going to use Procryl Red Gray and shoot pretty softly from above. Again, this will help a lot. This is going to kind of reinforce our skin, but also help us define where those fluorescent lines are going to be. So we're just shooting from above to hit the head. Next, I'm going to start working with my brush. I'm going to have my paint spread here go from pretty much up the skin tone range from red gray all the way up to basic skin tone, and I'm just going to in-glaze a mix of pretty much glaze consistency. I'm going to start working on the skin, just building up the colors really gently, mostly starting with the forehead, but really making sure I get the edge of the nose, the cheeks, and the obvious parts. Last thing we're going to do here before we put the putty on is I'm just going to use a mix of white, bloody red, and some fluorescence here and there to just redefine the edges of the inner part of this armor. So if you see here, I'm just hitting the edge lines. I'm just looking to get a hotter red reflection here with my brush. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm going to apply some masking putty onto the head area. I'm not going to cover up too much, but I'm just going to make sure that I cover up the inner edge of the armor trim. And then using my airbrush, I'm just going to cover up all the overspray parts, anything that I don't want red on, and it's going to be black or a different color. Now we're going to move on to one of the panes of chaos, which is trim. Once the trim's done, I'm just going to use some dark browns, some dark grays, bone colors, reds, just to fill the rest of this model in with normal box art coloring. Not going to stray too far. With an Abaddon model like this though, I do sometimes like to throw some fun stuff in. I'm using Dark Angels green, Caliban green for the helmet, and I'm short of using this sombre gray, pretty close to the fang, for the fur on the back. I like thinking, hey, we got the fur from Space Wolves, helmet from the Dark Angels. Stuff like that makes the model fun, to me at least, and keeps it interesting. Looking pretty good so far. I'm just gonna start working on the base. This Abaddon model comes right out of the boarding patrol box, so the whole the whole boarding patrol is based in this. So it's a reddish brown, not really Mars red, but close enough. And I think it's nice. And we're just add some nice dust to the cloak and other parts of the base, and his boots, the bottom of his shoes, that kind of stuff. But a nice dusty look really helps pull the model together to the base. After a quick wash, I'm just going to hit some highlights, pretty simple. I start off here with a dry brushing of neutral gray on the cloak, and then I'm going to follow it with some glazing with a smaller brush just to hit the refined outlines of the highlights. This is a great technique. It's kind of a 2-for-1. You let yourself know where these highlights need to be, and then you can refine them. I'm also going to work some highlights around the model. Nothing crazy, just your normal highlighting of the model. Alright, now I'm going to move on to the OSL part of this model. So I'm just covering all of my base coated white parts with Liquitex white ink. I'm just re-establishing the white, and I'm using it to set small halos around the OSL light sources. Start small in general. It's a lot easier and you don't have to worry about too much overspray. I'm just working around the model. Anything that I have base coated in white that's going to be an OSL, the sword, the flame on the bottom. I'm also putting one in the middle of the claw. I'm going to do some lightning effects coming out of here, so I want a nice part right in the middle of the claw where I can have the lightning arcing from. I also hit the Eye of Horus on his right shoulder as well. Simple OSL for the sword here. I'm just going to cover it in Speed Paint Cloudborne Blue. And then for the flames, everything's going to be a simple recipe of you start off with a fluorescent magenta or rose, then you move to a magenta ink, and then after that you move to a violet ink. Very simple transition here for OSL, but it's very effective. Back on the sword, I'm just going to use some some thinned down oil paint for white, and I'm just going to fill in the little faces on the sword, and then we're going to fill those in later with contrast paint. When working with OSL here, especially on this model, the fluorescents are going to do most of the work for us. We're just really adding the magenta, the violet, and the other extra colors just to add a little contrast on them. Sort of soften the fluorescence a little bit, but still that fluorescent and that white are going to carry pretty much all of the work for us on this model. Moving on to my lightning effect, I'm going to use some wire here. It's 0.03 gauge jewelry wire. I'm going to bend this with my clippers and my fingers into random cuts and joints to make this look like lightning. We want to keep the angles as sharp as possible. We don't want to look like spaghetti. Next, using super glue, I'm going to dab the ends of the wire into the super glue tip, and then I'm going to go through the nightmare of trying to glue the wire to the model. I'm using Instant Set here, basically super glue accelerant to really help set the glue in the spots it needs. Once I'm done, it looks pretty good. Next, moving on to painting, I'm going to cover all of the lightning in white first as a base coat. Then I'm going to move up on my magenta scale. So I'm going to actually use magenta from Vallejo first as a base coat over the white. And then I'm going to slowly mix more and more pink and white into the mix and concentrate on the arcs and the tips of the turns it makes in directions. And that will be my white parts of the lightning. And there you have it. Pretty simple video. We came in here to attack this kind of inner helmet glow. I think we did a pretty good job there, and we ended up also doing some fun OSL on the outside. I think the model looks great. Classic Abaddon with a little bit of fun. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, share, comment, let me know what you think. You know, I had fun playing with this one, and it's a nightmare of a situation when you don't sub-assemble the right way, but hopefully with some simple tricks with the airbrush we can sort of fix that. Thanks for watching, and catch you guys in the next one.